There are several codes that could prevent a panel board from being installed in an attic. According to the National Electrical Code, NEC Section 110.26a, electrical equipment must be installed in a manner that will not result in a hazard to persons or property. Attics are typically not suitable for installing electrical equipment due to the presence of insulation, which can create a fire hazard. NEC Section 408.34 states that panelboards must be installed in accessible locations where they are not likely to be subjected to physical damage or environmental hazards. Attics are often not accessible and can be subject to extreme temperatures and moisture. NEC Section 408.35 says that panelboards must be mounted in a vertical position and securely fastened. Attics may not provide a suitable surface for mounting a panelboard securely. The International Residential Code, IRC, Section R602.6 requires that electrical panels must be installed in accessible and convenient locations that are not subject to excessive heat or moisture. Attics are not considered accessible or convenient locations. IRC Section R602.7 states that electrical panels must be installed so that they are not obstructed by insulation or other materials. Attics are often filled with insulation, which can obstruct access to the panel board. In addition to the national and international codes, local codes may also have specific requirements for installing panelboards in attics. It is important to consult the local building code for specific requirements in your area. There are some exceptions to the codes that allow panelboards to be installed in attics under certain conditions. These exceptions typically require the panelboard to be enclosed in a fire-rated enclosure and to be installed in an accessible location. It is important to consult the specific code requirements for the details of these exceptions. Therefore, firstly, ensure the panelboard is installed in a manner that does not create hazards as per NEC 110.26a, considering the fire risk posed by insulation in attics. Secondly, prioritize accessibility and protection from environmental hazards in compliance with NEC 408.34, recognizing that attics often lack accessibility and are prone to extreme temperatures and moisture. Thirdly, securely mount panelboards in a vertical position, adhering to NEC 408.35, while ensuring the attic structure provides a suitable mounting surface. Fourthly, follow IRC R602.6, mandating accessible, convenient locations for electrical panels free from excessive heat or moisture, which attics typically fail to provide. Fifthly, prevent obstructions by insulation or other materials, as emphasized by IRC R602.7, addressing the common issue of insulation-filled attics hindering panelboard access. Sixthly, consult local building codes for specific requirements regarding panelboard installations in attics, acknowledging the potential for additional regulations beyond national and international codes. Seventhly, investigate code exceptions that may permit attic panelboard installations under specific conditions, such as fire-rated enclosures and accessible locations, referencing the relevant code details. In more detail, NEC 110.26 is crucial because it sets a fundamental requirement for all electrical installations, stating that equipment must be installed safely to prevent hazards to people and property. Attics often fail to meet this requirement due to the presence of combustible materials like insulation and the potential for overheating, creating a fire risk. Ensuring compliance with this section involves careful consideration of the attic environment and implementation of measures to mitigate potential hazards. NEC 408.34 addresses the accessibility and environmental conditions of panelboard installations. Accessibility is vital for maintenance, repairs, and emergency situations. Attics can be difficult to access due to limited headroom, narrow pathways, and the presence of obstacles. Additionally, attics are often exposed to extreme temperatures and humidity, which can damage electrical equipment and create safety hazards. Meeting the requirements of this section involves selecting suitable locations within the attic that are easily accessible and protected from environmental factors. NEC 408.34 focuses on the physical mounting of panel boards, requiring them to be installed vertically and securely fastened. Vertical mounting ensures proper ventilation and prevents the accumulation of dust and debris. Secure fastening prevents the panel board from shifting or falling, which could damage the equipment or create a safety hazard. Attics may present challenges for secure mounting due to uneven surfaces or weak structural supports. Complying with this section involves selecting appropriate mounting hardware and ensuring that the panel board is properly supported. IRC R600 2.6 emphasizes the importance of accessible and convenient locations for electrical panels free from excessive heat or moisture. Accessibility is crucial for homeowners or qualified electricians to perform necessary maintenance and repairs. Attics are often inconvenient locations due to their limited accessibility and uncomfortable environment. Excessive heat and moisture can also damage electrical equipment and create safety hazards. Meeting the requirements of this section involves carefully considering the location of the electrical panel within the attic and taking steps to mitigate any potential environmental issues. IRC R600 2.7 addresses the issue of obstructions to electrical panels, requiring them to be free from insulation or other materials. Obstructions can hinder access to the panel for maintenance and repairs and can also create a fire hazard by trapping heat. Attics are often filled with insulation, which can easily obstruct access to the panel board. Complying with this section involves ensuring that the panel board is installed in a location where it will not be obstructed by insulation or other materials and taking steps to keep the area around the panel clear. Local building codes may have specific requirements for panelboard installations in attics that go beyond the national and international codes. These requirements may address issues such as fire safety, ventilation, and accessibility. It is essential to consult the local building code to ensure that the panelboard installation complies with all applicable regulations. Code exceptions may allow panelboards to be installed in attics under certain conditions, such as when the panelboard is enclosed in a fire-rated enclosure and installed in an accessible location. These exceptions are typically intended to provide flexibility while still ensuring safety. It is important to carefully review the specific code requirements for these exceptions to ensure that all conditions are met. Remember that when installing a panel board, the available working space around the electrical equipment is critical for safety and accessibility. NEC 110.26 provides specific requirements for working space, including minimum depth, width, and height. The depth of the working space depends on the voltage of the equipment and the presence of exposed live parts. The width of the working space must be at least 30 inches or the width of the equipment, whichever is greater. The height of the working space must be at least 6 feet 6 inches or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. In attics, these working space requirements can be challenging to meet due to limited headroom and confined spaces. Ensuring adequate working space is crucial for safe and effective maintenance and repairs. Also, consider the potential for physical damage to the panel board in an attic environment. Attics are often used for storage, and the panel board could be damaged by items being stored nearby. NEC 110.27b requires electrical equipment to be protected from physical damage. This can be achieved by installing the panel board in a location where it is less likely to be damaged or by providing physical barriers to protect the equipment. Furthermore, the ambient temperature in an attic can fluctuate significantly, especially during extreme weather conditions. High temperatures can cause electrical equipment to overheat and fail, while low temperatures can cause condensation and corrosion. NEC 110.3b requires electrical equipment to be installed and used in accordance with its listing and labeling, which includes temperature ratings. When installing a panel board in an attic, it is important to select equipment that is rated for the expected temperature range and to provide adequate ventilation to prevent overheating. Moreover, moisture and humidity can be significant concerns in attic environments, particularly in areas with poor ventilation or leaky roofs. Moisture can cause corrosion of electrical components and create a safety hazard. NEC 110.11 requires electrical equipment to be protected from the deteriorating effects of the environment. This can be achieved by selecting equipment that is listed for use in damp or wet locations and by providing adequate ventilation to prevent moisture buildup. Additionally, proper grounding is essential for the safety of any electrical installation. NEC 250 provides detailed requirements for grounding electrical systems and equipment. In an attic environment, it is important to ensure that the panel board is properly grounded to prevent electrical shock hazards. This may involve connecting the panel board to a grounding electrode system and providing a grounding conductor to each circuit. Besides the requirements of the NEC and IRC, consider the requirements of the product listing. Panel boards, like other electrical equipment, are typically listed by a third-party testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories or all. The listing indicates that the product has been tested and meets certain safety standards. The listing also includes information about the product's intended use, including environmental limitations. It is important to install and use panel boards in accordance with their listing. For example, a panel board that is not listed for use in damp locations should not be installed in an attic where moisture is present. Before installing any electrical equipment, it is important to obtain the necessary permits from the local building department. The permit process ensures that the installation meets all applicable codes and regulations. The building inspector will review the plans and inspect the installation to verify compliance. Failing to obtain the required permits can result in fines and penalties. Also, consider future access to the panel board for maintenance and repairs. Attics can be difficult to navigate, and it is important to provide a clear and safe path to the panel board. This may involve installing lighting, walkways, or ladders to improve accessibility. The path to the panel board should be free from obstructions and hazards. Another consideration is the potential for pests in the attic. Rodents and insects can damage electrical wiring and equipment, creating a safety hazard. It is important to take steps to prevent pests from entering the attic, such as sealing openings and installing pest control devices. Regular inspections can help to identify and address any pest problems before they cause significant damage. In addition to the NEC, IRC, local codes, and product listings, it is also important to follow industry best practices when installing panel boards in attics. These best practices are often based on experience and common sense and can help to ensure a safe and reliable installation. For example, it is a good practice to use corrosion-resistant materials in attic environments to protect against moisture damage. It is also a good practice to label all circuits clearly and accurately to facilitate troubleshooting and maintenance. Remember that working with electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to take precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. Always energize the circuit before working on any electrical equipment. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. When evaluating the accessibility of a panel board in an attic, consider the required clearances specified in NEC 110.26a. These clearances ensure that there is sufficient space for electricians to safely work on the equipment. The minimum depth of the working space depends on the voltage of the equipment and the presence of exposed live parts. The minimum width of the working space must be at least 30 inches or the width of the equipment, whichever is greater. The minimum height of the working space must be at least 6 feet 6 inches or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. In attics with limited headroom, it may be necessary to raise the roof or modify the structure to meet these clearance requirements. Also, consider the load calculations for the panel board to ensure that it is adequately sized for the expected loads. NEC 220 provides detailed requirements for calculating electrical loads. It is important to accurately calculate the loads to prevent overloading the panel board, which could create a fire hazard. The load calculation should include all of the connected loads, as well as any future loads that may be added. Remember to use appropriately sized conductors and overcurrent protection devices for the panel board and its circuits. NEC 240 provides requirements for overcurrent protection. The conductors must be sized to carry the calculated load, and the overcurrent protection devices must be sized to protect the conductors from overloads and short circuits. Using undersized conductors or oversized overcurrent protection devices can create a fire hazard. Also, consider the impact of the panelboard installation on the overall energy efficiency of the building. In attics with poor insulation, the panelboard can contribute to energy loss. To improve energy efficiency, consider insulating the panelboard enclosure and sealing any air leaks around the panelboard. This can help to reduce energy consumption and lower utility bills.